All right, welcome everyone. I'm so glad you're here. My name is Angie Huntley, and I'm an executive consultant with LifeVantage. And we're thrilled that you took the time to be here today, whether you're watching this on recording or you're here live. You heard about this because somebody cares about you enough to want you to have some information that honestly everybody should have. I've been representing LifeVantage for 8.5 years, and it was a health crisis with my son, who's now almost 20, but he was 10 at the time. And I just didn't know about this modality, even though I felt really versed in a lot of natural things and a lot of really powerful things. And at the time, we tried everything to help him, and I couldn't find anything. And because someone cared about me enough to really um, keep at me and to not let me turn away, I was really, really skeptical, and I was really, really weary. And honestly, I wasn't very open. So if that describes you and you're here anyway, I can relate. And this is a safe place for you to be skeptical and for you to be not open. And you can feel free to question anything I say. In fact, you should. In today's day and age, I highly recommend questioning most things. And we'll talk about that a little bit. But we will have time for Q&A during the presentation. Unless you're asking a question, I'll just ask that you're muted, just so that most people don't want to pull the camera to themselves. But if the dog barks at your house or the door knocks, what it will do is, if you're unmuted, is it'll pull you to be the host, and the focus will be on you, which I don't mind at all. If you have a question, I welcome interruptions and interjections, because I think sometimes that's where the best information comes. So feel free to do that. I welcome it. And this is a safe place to question. So LifeVantage is a company that really has pioneered a science called Nutrigenomics. And we're going to focus specifically on nutrigenomics and weight loss tonight. However, for me to be able to explain what nutrigenomics is to you is going to help give some color to how nutrigenomics influences weight management and our weight in general, and how we've kind of opened up and kind of taken the weight loss and weight management world by storm. Because nutrigenomics itself is more powerful than any food, drug, or supplement. Usually what we put our hand to, we're able to step in a way that nothing else can. And I'll kind of explain why and how that is. First of all, nutrigenomics is a play on two words: nutra, representing the word nutrition, and genomics, representing our genome or our DNA. And it's really nutrition's effects on your DNA. And while our DNA is something that we all tend to kind of blame a lot of things on, many of us on this call, if I asked everyone to raise their hand if they feel like they're dealing with something that's just hereditary, and it's just like, a lot of us will say, well, it's my DNA, it's in my DNA. And I hear people really succumb to that quite often, and even with weight. And I've done that myself. And I want to share, I'll share a little bit of my personal story with weight. I'm 52 years old now, and I've had several different careers in my life, and none of them are related to one another. My resume is a little bit like Forrest Gump. But when I was a young adult, I was a professional dancer, and a very disciplined art form that I focused my whole life on, outside of the fact that I had a raging eating disorder. And that ended my professional dance career outside of teaching really, really young. I had to give up my dance scholarship, and I was dancing professionally in Chicago, and I had to go into eating disorder treatment. And so for me, I have been very obsessive about food, about dieting, and about weight, to an extent that almost killed me. So I think I've taken it to a level that sometimes people can't relate to. And then I got well, and gradually through the years, I got more and more well, but I never really grasped how normal people think about food. That was just a really, it's an odd paradigm for me, having been so obsessive. And my eating disorder had spanned through all of them. So I've been a binge eater, and I've been anorexic, and I've been bulimic, and I started when I was 11. And probably one of the most healthy things that I did at 11 was I stopped weighing myself. I was very muscular, as you can imagine, being a dancer. And so, the density of muscle is so much fuller than fat. And in a lot of people, that old adage, muscle weighs more than fat. And so that number was always really devastating for me. And I can look back now at that 11-year-old and thank her, because I'm 52 and I haven't weighed myself since. In my dance career, I had weigh-ins, but I turned away, and I would have people, tell me, nope, you have to watch it. You're a little too bloated. I'd get all those comments that you're going to perform tonight. Maybe you shouldn't eat lunch. And so people would comment to me and insinuate what the weight was, but I didn't ever know the number. And when I would go to the doctor's office, I would turn around and I always ask the nurse not to say my number out loud. And I had a lot of peace with that. I even, now that we've stepped into weight loss and weight management, you're going to see a beautiful intertwining that really fits for me with this, because it's done differently. And so I can tell you through Nutrigenomics, for the last 8.5 years, my family has had radical health transformations. And I'll explain a little why. And if you're new to this, you'll kind of get a high level of what this science entails and how it can touch on so many different levels and so many different functions and systems within the body. But what it's done for me with like weight management and body image and my relationship with food has been nothing short of remarkable, says this ex-addict. And I'm a very addictive person. It's very easily for me to get addicted and obsessed with things. So it's funny for me to say that this ex-addict, but that's how free I feel in my relationship with food now. And I think there's people on this call that I know who also are feeling that same kind of freedom. So it's pretty exciting. What's amazing is with Nutrigenomics, because we can tap into the genome, we are tapping into your body's ability to work for you. And I'm gonna give you a couple analogies that we're gonna kind of build on as we talk today, because really 60 years ago, there was a team of scientists that weren't they were a part of pharma actually at the time, but their mission as a team was really to lessen the dysfunction within the cell that's underlying to all disease. And I'm going to say that maybe a couple times because that was a new lesson for me almost 9 years ago, that no matter how unique our disease process, and all of us might have different disease processes going on in our body, and we may have different aging processes going on in our body. But as we age, that vulnerability of aging has in itself, in the cell, common dysfunctions that are supporting the vulnerabilities of aging. They're supporting the aging badly process, let's put it that way. But also, those are the same dysfunctions in the cell that support any disease you can think of, any disease you can think of. So whether it's the big ones, whether we're focused on maybe obesity or carrying extra weight or poor metabolic health, or if we're off that topic and looking at autoimmune or small things, it's not small if you have it, but like IBS or acne, anxiety, or the big things like Alzheimer's, cancer, or MS. Now, all of those things have these same dysfunctions within the cell. So it's really interesting because you can see disease manifest in each body differently. You can see unwellness manifest differently in each body, but the real disease is actually that dysfunction within the cell. And you know what? The medical community is starting to speak that way. They're starting to catch up with that. But 60 years ago, it was really groundbreaking for these scientists to say, people are eating well, and they're getting essential vitamins and minerals, and they're eating foods rich in antioxidants, and they're not putting a dent in these dysfunctions within the cell. And they really turned their focus towards the Human Genome Project. And really, that's just going deeper into our DNA and looking at what makes up our DNA, the DNA that's so complex. Our DNA is just this master hard drive that's more complex than a NASA computer. Your body is so incredibly made. And so some of the things that I tell you today might sound too good to be true. I felt that the first time I listened to this, I thought, my gosh, this sounds too good to be true. But for me, I thought if half of it's true, maybe it could help my son. But what I've learned is your body is that good. When we look at, oh, is this too good to be true? That's how amazing your body is. And nutrigenomics taps into how your body was created. So 80% of your DNA is dormant. 20% is really, really active. But a lot of people are blaming their dormant DNA on what ails them. Only 2% of your DNA is actually coded, meaning like I'm 5'9", I have brown hair, I have brown eyes, and that's coded. I can't eat my way out of that. I can't exercise my way out of that. There's no supplements, there's no activation that's going to make me this petite 5'2" ballerina that I longed to be, 30 years ago. But this is my coded, but 98% of your DNA is not only influenceable, but you are influencing it. So we're not doing some voodoo or witchcraft. This is something that your exposures, your external exposures that you are exposed to every day are influencing your DNA. And a lot of times it's like a slow nudge that just over time kind of gets you really out of whack, either over or under expressed in some of the ways that our genetic pathways should be balanced. But what these scientists found and what they were looking for was they found this pathway that's part of that 80% dormant. And within that 80% of your DNA that's dormant, this pathway, and it's called NRF2, kind of like if you think Nerf gun, like Nerf 2, it's just the name of that protein enzyme within your body in every single cell, and it's just not doing anything. And what they discovered, and they actually got kicked out of pharma because they started working more with plants and having more success with herbs. But they found this pathway, this NRF2 pathway, that when it can be turned on powerfully, like really turned on, not just nudged, because some things nudge it, like turmeric nudges it, green tea nudges it, broccoli nudges it, but not in a way that's powerful enough to change the trajectory of anyone's aging experience or possibly of their disease process. But they found that within your body, this NRF2 pathway, if it can be turned on powerfully, your body has the ability to make what it needs. So you're going to hear me say this phrase, take it to make it. They found a synergy of 5 herbs that when combined together were so powerful to turn on this pathway in your DNA called NRF2 that your body's producing to the trillionth degree these super antioxidants that lower your oxidative stress at least 40% in 30 days, 70% in 90 days. And why that's really special is because you can't think of a disease that isn't rooted in oxidative stress. And eating foods rich in antioxidants and taking antioxidant supplements can't even give you enough relief from oxidative stress to heal your little thumbnail. But lowering it to literally the level of a newborn within 30 days was very, very radical. And it's your body that does it. So what we specialize in is using nutritional components and formulating them in a way that they turn on those pathways. Similar, I give an analogy of my phone. So my phone right now, just like your DNA, you could say is 80% dormant, 20% active. Well, my phone is pretty dormant right now. There's a lot of capabilities in this phone that are just sleeping, right? They're dormant, but it's doing some things. It's a really cute picture of me and my husband, cuter of him. He's much more photogenic than me. I've got a couple notifications letting me know who in the world is trying to tell me something from what app. It tells me the time, it tells me the date, it tells me my cellular provider and how much battery I have left. But there's so much that this is not doing right now. And if I look at this like we look at our DNA, it's so easy for me to say, well, I think my phone just doesn't do what everybody else's phone does. I'm just destined for my phone to only do a couple things because my mom's phone only did a couple things. Her siblings' phones only did a couple things. Even my siblings' phone only do a couple things. I guess it's just not meant to be. And that's how we think about our health when we're talking about our DNA. But truly, I could go my whole life with this phone without knowing that it had a flashlight. And I could just assume it wasn't meant to be until someone might tell me, hey, Angie, your phone really is programmed to light up. You have a bulb right here and your power is on. You're totally charged. You just have a switch. You have to know how to turn it on. And it not until someone would show me, oh, here's how you do it. And that's how you get it to do what it was created to do. And that's what our nutritional formulations do. So where you've seen nutritional formulations in the past, you're more than likely thinking of supplementation, of giving myself something that my body's lacking. That's why people, in their heart behind buying a multivitamin is they want to get those essential vitamins and minerals. And so they want that formulation to give them something that they believe they're lacking. And where Nutrigenomics is different is we're using a nutritional formulation to turn on something that's off. And we specifically target turning on those genetic pathways so powerfully that will address the dysfunctions in the cells. So I want you to think, and you can think of it as your struggle with weight. You can also think of it as any diagnosis that you never want to get, any diagnosis that you have, any diagnosis that anyone you love has. And I want you to just think of all those things, even if it's your struggle with weight. And I want you to picture a table with 4 legs. And all of those diagnoses that we just mentioned, including, like, I could say my eating disorder or my addiction, it's going to be represented by the tabletop. And in my treatment, I can say when I had eating disorder treatment and in the disease processes that I've had in the past, when I go to the doctor, when I go to the physician, we really focus on that tabletop, right? And we get it shiny and we manage it and we make sure it's presentable. We make sure it's functional. We make sure it can hold the weight. We might cut out a blemish and graft something else in so that that tabletop can be very shiny and just how we want it. And that's a little bit our experience with Western medicine. How I want your mind to shift tonight for the sake of this call and understanding what we do at LifeVantage and how Nutrigenomics is an advantage in your health is these scientists 60 years ago, instead of trying to manage that tabletop, they looked at the legs and they said, wow, if this tabletop is held up by 4 legs and those legs are going to represent the dysfunctions within the cell. Their premise was, what if we could get rid of one of the legs? What if we could just not just get the leg off balance? What if we could just wipe that leg out? How would that tabletop still function as a tabletop? In essence, how would that disease still be able to hold itself where it was and have the power that it had within our body? It would have a very hard time. When I do presentations in person, I have this little stool. And I always tell people, I'm a big girl. I can sit on that stool. If the top of the stool is representing any unwellness or ailments we're struggling with. And for tonight's case, like weight management and our struggle with weight, then what would happen if I'm sitting on it and I remove a leg out from underneath it? Well, I would tip over. That stool can no longer have the strength that it did before. And where LifeVantage has really gained ground over the last 15 years is we've addressed different legs of that table. We started our flagship product with that NRF2. And I'm going to show you just a little 2-minute segment of how powerful that is, because that's going to give you a glimpse as we head into weight loss and weight management of who we are and what we do and kind of help you connect the dots. But this team of scientists moved their research to the University of Colorado in Denver, where they discovered that synergy of herbs that so powerfully turns on the NRF2 pathway that it did something that no other food, drug, or supplement could do. In fact, they did a study on humans where every human in the study, so 100% efficacious, which is unheard of. You should be skeptical when I say that, because that just doesn't happen. So not only did 100% of the humans in the study lower their oxidative stress, literally eliminating a leg of the table, at least 40% in 30 days, but just lowering that oxidative stress is also something that was so shocking. No food, drug, or supplement does that. So the Wall Street Journal published the summary of the study and it got the world's attention. And so 20 years ago, we weren't a company. We're just doctors in a lab that had this breakthrough. And ABC Primetime Investigative Report, if you're as old as me, those news magazines used to come in and get really good ratings when they would bust people. In fact, ABC Primetime Investigative Report always busted people. They went into organizations to like blow the lid off their operation and make them tell the truth. And so I want to show you this 2-minute clip. If you haven't seen it in its entirety, make sure whoever invited you sends you the entire thing. But I tried to just pick 2 minutes that could highlight to you the power of what we've got. And my screen share has been funky, so Ron, I'm going to look to your face and you give me a thumbs down if it's not going to play. Okay, we're there. All right, 2 minutes. Here we go.
Normally, oxidative stress, measured by those T-bars, increases with age. But in Dr. McCord's tests, taking just one pill of Protandim a day reversed that trend for everyone at every age, even for an 80-year-old.
They all are reduced to the level of oxidative stress that one would expect, frankly, in a newborn or a very young child.
Back to the oxidative stress levels of a child? It sounds too good to be true. Will Protandim work on me? But what about my progress? After nearly 2 weeks now, it's time to get my results. Dr. McCord calculates the numbers. The result? My level of oxidative stress has declined dramatically.
45%. That's excellent.
Just look at where I fall on the graph, before and after.
Which, if extrapolated back, is the level you would see in a newborn baby.
Have we turned back the clock? Well, maybe not on the outside, but deep inside within my cells. Yes, indeed.
Would you suggest I keep taking this supplement?
I would.
And so, ancient Eastern healing and modern Western medicine may soon be working together. High oxidative stress is associated with more than aging. It's been linked to hundreds of illnesses.
It's at the very center of many diseases: liver disease, diabetes, emphysema, asthma. I've studied all of these: strokes, heart attacks, even mental disease. Yes, depression, Alzheimer's disease, depression. But we do know that oxidative stress is part of those disease processes. And I don't want to wait until I'm 80 years old and find out that I should have taken it.
So you can see the power there. One of the things now they're speaking of Protandim NRF2, and that's activating. So again, it's not supplementing. It's like in the cell phone with my flashlight, it's turning on a pathway that was off. And what's incredible is anything you can think of is rooted in oxidative stress. And not only is it lowering your oxidative stress, but when these pathways start working as they were created to, we start to see a balancing of survival genes that get over and underexpressed due to your exposures. So just taking Protandim NRF2 starts to balance over 500 survival genes that have gotten out of whack. And the reason I needed to set the stage by sharing about Protandim NRF2 is that was the first leg of the table that we addressed through nutrigenomic activation. We have other pathways that we activate that are equally as powerful and as profound. Our Protandim NRF2 has been studied by 31 world-renowned institutions on their own millions that will be completely objective, because honestly, some of those institutions would make more money if they proved us wrong. But throughout the years of our pursuit of nutrigenomics, we've been able to address the other legs at the table. And it's really amazing what we see. And sometimes with those, we do see weight loss. And that's where I wanted to tell you, before we became a company that really addressed weight loss and weight management, which we do now, it was very normal for me to have clients lose weight when they became activated. Not that I would expect it, not that I would promise it, but it could be many things. The body was becoming very balanced. There's a process that happens when you combine or synergize our activators with one another, and they start regulating and balancing all the systems in the body in such a profound way that you start to see metabolic health level off, and people have energy and their chronic pain goes away. And so I'll never forget, one of my friends got on one of our stacks. It was a combination of several of our products. And within 2 weeks, she had lost like 12 pounds. It was a radical amount of weight in a short amount of time. But along with that, she wasn't laying in bed all day. And she had all this energy and her mind was clear. And so did the weight come off because all of a sudden she had the energy that she was vibrant and she was gardening and exercising again, where she used to be in too much pain? And so the movement could have been part of that. Or was it that the inflammation lowered so much and her body started getting into balance, and even her ability to absorb nutrients was impacted so greatly and enhanced, and kind of back to how she was created to absorb nutrients? Was it that? Probably. I mean, probably yes, for all the things. And would I be shocked if someone didn't lose weight? No. Would I be shocked if someone did lose weight? No. Wonderful things happen when we start addressing the legs at the table. So we have an amazing product line. Through the years, we've been able to activate pathways that produce collagen. We've been able to activate NAD, activate mitochondria. We have products that focus activation on brain health, neurological health. And you know what? My family takes all of it, because we see the body as a large, intertwined, holistic system of cells. And as we step into me sharing a little bit about what we have now in the area of weight loss and weight management, I want to preface it by saying, no matter what's going on in your body, if it's something you don't like or it's something that you love that's happening within your body, it's made up of cells. There isn't something going on in your heart, in your brain, in your liver, in your connective tissues, in your blood, in your skin. It's all cells. And what we're able to do is we're able to heal and repair the cell. And I can't say that we heal, treat, or cure any disease, but I can say we heal the cell in radical ways. And so we've carried that on now, because in our world right now, there's a buzzword within weight loss, and the pharmaceutical companies have made this GLP-1 phrase, this catchphrase of GLP-1, they've made it a household name. And many people don't understand that that's an essential hormone. GLP-1 is actually not the name of a pharmaceutical. It's the name of an essential hormone. And I'm going to tie in, once I share with you about our GLP-1 system, I'll share with you the things that the behaviors that are so important to have in weight management and weight loss. And even as far as our GLP-1 is considered, sometimes people struggle to gain weight, and that's a real issue. But what's wonderful is that kind of comes in under the umbrella of weight management. And so I'm super excited to share with you that we're able to activate through a 2-product system. We're able to activate pathways within your DNA that are responsible for the regulation, balancing, and the production of these hormones in your gut-brain axis. And one of those hormones is called GLP-1. So I'm just going to switch screens here a second and see if I can get right where I need to be. So give me just a moment. Oh, that is so not the slide I wanted to be at, but I'm close. So let me back up a minute. There we go. Okay. So what you're looking at here is our GLP-1 nutrigenomic activator. It's our nutrigenomic activation system, and it's called Mind Body. And I'll explain to you why. Because GLP-1, amongst other hormones as well, are essential hormones in your gut-brain axis, which means that hormone is produced in the L cells of your gut. It's also produced in your brain. And those hormones are a really, really big deal. And I think why this means so much to me personally, in the little bit that I shared about your story, is I mean, I've thought I was neurotic, right? Other people think they're lazy. They'll say, I just have no willpower. I just can't do that. I just lack motivation. And they blame themselves and shame themselves. I could say almost the opposite of, like, I'm so obsessive. I'm so obsessive about food. I'm so obsessive about what I eat. And you can start to shame yourself, right? And in our culture and with weight, it's so easy to do that. So what's really intriguing is mind body. Your mind relies on these hormones just as much as your gut. and the other organs in your body that it affects. And so by activating some genetic pathways in the L cells, it allows your body to produce GLP-1 hormone. And there's a few things at play there. So first of all, we can say that GLP-1 in itself has enormous effects on the pancreas and the stomach, on the brain, but also the liver and the heart. We see a regulated GLP-1 regulating blood sugars, helping protect your heart and your brain, and improving the health of your gut, liver, and kidneys. Now, what's interesting is most of us in this world, due to exposures, have a very depleted GLP-1 hormone. And that's why, believe it or not, that's why so much we have that stinking thinking. That's why sometimes our cravings are out of control and we're thinking about food all the time. Is that hormone really is responsible, and the hormones in that gut-brain axis, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. So I don't want to just focus on GLP-1, but a lot of times that's the one most people are more familiar with due to, unfortunately, pharmaceutical advertising. But the reality is, with that depletion, we are left with some things going on in our brain that are really, really unhealthy. And it leaves us with really poor and imbalanced metabolic health. Whereas the GLP-1 is responsible, believe it or not, for how we think about food, the cravings that we're feeling, the constant hunger, or what we would call hunger, or even feelings of satiety, or being able to recognize fullness. It's, as we were preparing for the launch of this is very new. It launched in October. We sold out in 13 days. So it's a phenomenal product. But as we were preparing for this, within our team, and we have a Facebook community, and if you're not in it, we'd love for you to join. And we were trying to prepare people by like, tune into what hunger feels like. You know, see if you can recognize hunger and when you're feeling hungry. Not just your need to eat, because sometimes we need to eat for social reasons, for accepted, you know, like you want to be acceptable. If somebody made you a cake, you feel like you should eat some, even if you're not hungry and you're trying to give up sugar. There's a lot of reasons we eat. Sometimes, I mean, my husband was eating because there was a deal on subs on Tuesday, and his whole office would go, and he wasn't hungry, but you just kind of feel that community around food. And there's a lot. Some people feel enormous comfort and care, but not hunger. And the reason I bring all this up is because you'd be surprised, maybe you wouldn't, but it's shocking how many people haven't felt hunger in years, because they're eating because the clock says so, because their schedule says so, because their stress says so. They just need to feel better. They need to be glutton. You know, sometimes we're punishing ourselves. Sometimes we're rewarding ourselves. There's all these reasons why we eat, but a lot of times it's not hunger. And just getting in tune to what hunger feels like, that hormone and those other hormones in that gut-brain axis have a lot to do with that. So GLP-1 gets so depleted due to being overweight, and which is almost a catch-22. If you're overweight, it depletes your GLP-1. If you're sedentary, deplete your GLP-1. Processed foods, alcohol, fragrances, synthetic fragrances, not your flowers and your essential oils and your baking scents, but you know, like the synthetic scents, depleting your GLP-1. There's a hormone in that gut-brain axis called DPP-4. And in most people, while your GLP-1 is underexpressed and completely depleted, your DPP-4 is way overexpressed. And kind of like oxidative stress, DPP-4 is a bad guy. Most disease can't exist without DPP-4. And due to all those things, our DPP-4s are out of control. So the average American has very overexpressed DPP-4 and very depleted GLP-1. And that DPP-4 that's running rampant, it eats away, kind of like a little Pac-Man, it eats away at the GLP-1. So it's like, what came first, the cart or the horse? I mean, we're doing certain things. We've got these hormones out of whack. When we activate these pathways, we address that. So we realize that you can't have GLP-1 if your DPP-4 is highly overexpressed. So what a wonderful thing that when these pathways get turned on powerfully, kind of like that NRF2 that we talked about before, it just brings that DPP-4 right down to behavior balance, where, and I say that because it's like we're telling that guy to behave. He's been acting up. And then it allows the GLP-1 to increase. And that's where we start to see really, really special things. And there's other hormones in that gut-brain axis also that become really, really regulated and balanced. So you might ask, well, what if I have a lot of GLP-1? What if mine is overregulated or overexpressed? Should I not take this? No, it basically your body knows what to do. Your body will bring it into balance. And when those pathways are activated with our activator in our clinical, in our 12-week third-party human clinical, the average GLP-1 increase, that manufacturing increased 140%. So most people were depleted in it, like in the negatives. We're all coming in different places, but if you're overexpressed, it's going to bring that right into balance. Now, if you've been familiar with the pharmaceuticals that people are getting the injections, people are getting the shots, and taking these, what we call semaglutides. And what that's doing is essentially giving your body a bioidentical hormone. So you're getting a synthetic version of the hormone. And when you're getting those shots, your body is so smart, and it's saying, and really it's tricking the brain. The brain is saying, oh, we don't need to make GLP-1 anymore. And you get very depleted as far as what you're manufacturing. Now, if you keep injecting that synthetic, then you're just going to have that, but you're going to be very reliant on it because your body has essentially, it's kind of like if I just choose to never work my bicep again, I am going to have a hard time picking up a jug of milk because I haven't engaged that. And so if you're telling your body not to create any GLP-1, which essentially giving yourself a bioidentical hormone is doing, it not only weakens the GLP-1 and doesn't address the DPP-4, so it's still eating away that, which is making you need the shot again. You have receptors for GLP-1 that are really, really important. The receptors keep it, hold it, help it to have a life within your body before it transitions and your body needs to make more. The receptors are really important. And with the semaglutides, the receptors just go limp because they're not doing anything. So they become, your receptors become very depleted too. And you can start to wonder at that point, and I've been there in my eating disorders. Like, I feel like my body is against me. Like, it feels like my body wants everything the opposite of what I want for myself. And I think since I've been activated with our mind body, I feel like my body's on my side. Like, I feel like my body's drawing me towards the good things. And we'll talk about that in a moment. One of the side effects, and there's many, unfortunately, from the semaglutides, from the drugs, not from, we actually are allowed to say we don't have any side effects. Now, some people adapting to it, they may have an adjustment period, a little bit of a detox. It's very high in fiber. So we're preparing the gut for that activation of GLP-1 by giving it fiber. And if you have a diet that's not very high in fiber, you may need to slowly acclimate to that. That's not a side effect. That's an adjustment. You're adjusting to bringing fiber back into your diet. But 97% of humans are depleted in fiber. They're deficient in fiber. So that's how important this is added to this product. So with that said, we can say 100% of our participants in our study had zero muscle loss. Now, the weight loss can be so fast with the drugs that people lose an enormous amount of muscle, along with some side effects that are scary, actually. I mean, I have good friends on this call right now who've had some scary, scary side effects. So the nice thing is here, we're using nutritional components. It's a vegan formula. So it's all plants. It's a plant-based formula that synergizes these ingredients in just the right amount, in just the right way, that they activate these pathways responsible for the regulation and manufacturing of these gut-brain axis hormones. So we even see a 27% drop in visceral fat. Now, visceral fat is the dangerous fat. It's the fat that surrounds your organs. It's the fatty liver fat. It's the heart disease fat. And to be able to lower that by 27% is absolutely remarkable. Not only that, is we're seeing a lot of people building muscle. One of my dear friends who's very thin, she literally does not need to lose any weight. She got on the Mind Body, and there's many reasons to get on it other than weight loss, and we'll talk about that. The brain health, the heart health, the joint health, the pancreas health, the liver health, it's unparalleled. So she got on it and she started seeing her body mass changing. Her visceral fat levels went significantly down and her muscle went significantly up. She lost 0.4 of 1 pound, but there was more of a shifting in her body mass, which was really, really special. But what we're seeing is it's cutting cravings. That food noise is going away. And if you haven't been exposed to food noise, I never called it food noise. My whole life was food noise. As someone with an obsessive eating disorder, I can say there was always a reel playing in my head thinking about food. And I was thinking about my weight, how it would affect my body, how many calories, how much fat, how much I could eat, when I'd let myself eat again. If I ate right now, how long I'd have to wait before I would eat again. And what I really wanted to eat, what I wouldn't let myself eat. And that was, I could go on and on. And for some people, it's just the pull to the pantry when they're at home. It's a wild thing when you don't have that food noise anymore. There is such a brain connection to the balancing of these hormones. It's freedom for me. Like, I feel like I've got real estate in my brain back. I feel like I've gotten a sharpness to my mind, and a lot of people have felt more focused. Sometimes the reason that we're holding more weight is simply we are completely behind in sleep and we're lacking sleep. And you need sleep to lose weight. And your cells actually need that. And one of the things that I've noticed, and it's very common with the balancing of these hormones, we're seeing, I mean, all my clients, sleep is changing, like deep sleep for the better. I had a radical drop in chronic pain. Also, I have 5 sons, and my 2 youngest sons are type 1 diabetic. And I conferred with another one of my colleagues who is a specialist in their area, and she said, absolutely get them on the Mind Body. And they're on it for the protection of their organs and for the release of glucagon from the liver. So there's so many deep health benefits. But for a lot of people, they're looking for just some help with, can you help me feel fuller longer, which I do. And it goes in waves. Sometimes you need more food. Your body needs more food to help you detox those fat cells, because your fat cells actually hold toxins. They're the safest place for your toxins to go in your body. So to be able to detox from that is absolutely incredible. And not craving some of those same foods. And another thing that happens when it becomes balanced is you start to see people craving what's fueling them instead of what's rewarding them. So I'm hearing from a lot of people, like, I'm craving vegetables. It's really bizarre. I never craved these things before. I'm also hearing from a lot of people that they literally can't have what they used to have. One of my colleagues said, I crave exercise now. She hasn't exercised in 25 years. She says, I crave movement. My body is pulling me to move, waking me up early after I'm deeply rested to move the way I used to crave ice cream. And that's all part of that balancing in the hormones. So when we look at weight loss and weight management, we've seen people in 12 weeks, our study was 12 weeks, and some people lose up to 25 pounds in 12 weeks. Some people might only lose 1 or 2 pounds in 12 weeks. We're all kind of coming up to the plate with a different level of deficiency, with different levels of toxins in our body. Some people who are already activated with our other activators kind of get a little bit of a launch pad, and we'll talk about that. You have an increased potency when you start adding synergizers of ours together with one another, but usually about 1 to 2 pounds a week, which is a really, really healthy rate of weight loss. If you lose it too fast, you are going to lose muscle. There are going to be side effects. It's not going to be sustainable. It's very easy to gain back, but losing it slowly over time and your body kind of resets. And you start losing the taste for some of those things that had seriously been culprits and kind of a reason for carrying excess weight or just making it so hard to lose weight. So many people, and I'm one of them, who said, I'm doing everything right. I mean, I was eating, and I do eat whole food, plant-based. I literally cannot eat cleaner than I eat. I exercise regularly. I practice like self-development and rest and all the different things implementing for my health, but I was still carrying some excess weight. And what's really beautiful too is you start to see a lot of the things when you're activated just start to balance out. And some things that you didn't even realize were tied to an imbalance just kind of fade away. It's really, really kind of special to see as your body regulates. So I mentioned the synergy. We did a cell study within our company on the synergy of our Protandim NRF2 and our mind body, and we tend to do that when we release a new product. Like when you combine our activated collagen and our Protandim NRF2, we were seeing such radical things in people's health that the company had to do a in vitro study, which is a cell study, on the synergy of the two. And we found that the response of adding the two of them together was so great. And it brought upon a response that wasn't even visible in each one by itself. It's remarkable. We've noticed that with 3 other of our activators that we call the Tri-Synergizer, our NRF2, our NRF1, and our NAD. They create such a special response in their synergy that in each of those combinations, we've had to patent the combination. So with Mind Body and Protandim NRF2, we just released a new study. It's on your consultant website. This is called the Healthy Weight Stack when you combine these two. And if you go to the website, you'll see this combination, and you can always scroll down to the bottom and pull up the PDF of the study. But I just want to share with you how powerful the synergy is, and maybe why some people are having faster results when they're combining the two. And again, sometimes I hesitate to say that because it's never a pressure thing. Each one of our products is so powerful and so powerfully able to stand alone that we can say what they do isn't paralleled by any other food, drug, or supplement. Nothing else can do what it does because it's your body doing it. It's your own manufacturing house. We're taking something so your body is empowered to make it. But with the Healthy Weight Stack, we found some special things. First of all, we found that there were 4 new antioxidant pathways unlocked and activated. So not only the pathway NRF2, but 4 more only when you're synergizing it with the mind body. Pretty remarkable. So you're seeing an increased drop in that oxidative stress, which is really, really profound. We also found that 9 new pathways that aren't activated with either of these separate that amplify your metabolism. Basically, those 9 pathways balance out your each have an ability to balance metabolic health. And so we're seeing those 9 playing into your metabolism. It's incredible. And then this one really is why I'm passionate about my type 1 diabetic sons being on this combo. And it's not the only activators they're on, but when I see things like this, each of our activators have been proven to protect every organ. But when you combine these two together, there's 22 new pathways within your DNA that were dormant, that are activated, and they specifically restore, rebuild, and renew the internal organs. That's everything. Like, that's incredible. You're seeing that play into weight loss. Of course, it's easier to lose weight when your organs are healthy, right? But when you're looking at preventative or even regenerative or therapeutic health of the organs, every organ, that blows my mind. that we can combine those two and get that results and see so much more activation happening. So, and that's worth accentuating. 22 new genes that restore, rebuild, and renew internal organs, helping the tissue cells remain structurally strong, like bricks with mortar. You know, your organs are tissue. Help tissue cells regenerate, and then also improving coordination, signaling, and impulses within tissue cells and nerves. Coordination is a big deal, you guys. I mean, my father passed almost 20 years ago from a very cruel and a very long debilitating neurological degenerative disease. And it caused him to have these board falls. And the people with his diagnosis would have these board falls. These are the things that coordination plays into. Think of as people age, the falling that takes place. And coordination is a really, really big deal. And did you realize it was tied to organ health? The signaling and impulses with your tissue cells and nerves, all of that is affected by combining that NRF2 with mind body, which we call the healthy weight stack. So I've given you a lot of information, but what I want to say, I guess, to wrap it up before we take Q&A is that there are so many things that are really important to weight loss. Moving your body, eating clean, eliminating things that are so bad for you in our food system. But what's really beautiful is that mind body leads you to do that. And that's what we're seeing. When your body is activated and regulated that way, and these hormones are in a healthy space and not over or under expressed, your body starts working for you. And like my colleague Susan, who said, I never wanted to exercise. I haven't exercised in 25 years, and now my body is craving it. I'm enjoying it. I want it. Doesn't that sound easier and more organic than me saying to a friend of mine who hasn't exercised in 20 years to say, you know, you really should exercise. You better start walking. How many steps did you get in today? And that can feel really hard. And for my friend who said, you know what, I was so addicted to pop and I literally can't drink it now. It just doesn't taste good to me. I don't want it. How much easier is that when it's your body saying, yuck, like you don't want this. Your signals are not allowing you to take in toxins, essentially. Whereas if I were to say, you know, you really should give up pop. I used to be addicted to pop. That would have been really hard. I would have said, okay, mind your own business. But what a beautiful thing when your body leads you into that. And so I want you to know that I'm not diminishing eating right, exercise, mindfulness, rest. They're all so important, but I am such a fan of your body drawing you into that powerfully because your body and your system is becoming so balanced. Okay, so anybody have questions? I want to make sure you know whoever invited you here can absolutely help you if you want to order. If you don't want to order and you want to think about this and you want to research, more power to you. 8.5 years ago, I was just upset that I had never heard about this before. And so we do these Zooms to help people know this is an option that everyone should know about. Now you know, and we feel at peace with that. But I am happy to take and answer questions, as many as we have. All you need to do is unmute yourself. I'll also check the chat, but feel free to unmute and throw a question out there if you have one. And I am going to stop the recording also. Yeah, let me stop the recording so nobody feels inhibited. Thanks everyone watching the recording. We're glad you were here.